Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. Here we continue with our current affairs compilation series with the current affairs of social issues for the month of November 2024 to January 2025. That is November, December as well as January, 3 months of social issues current affairs. Now this initiative has already started from 21st of February. We have already covered economy, polity, etc. We are taking it subject wise. This is social issues that we are covering. I hope you have gone through all the previous compilations by us and will go through this and the future ones as well. So let's get started. What are the news that we are going to cover over here? Number one, that is the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. What is the scheme about? It is basically a loan intervention scheme. We will see that in detail. Then POCSO Act 2012. So the court has said that the crime under the POCSO Act is not an individual crime or a private crime or a crime against one individual, but rather it's a crime against the entire society. So if there is an intermediary process that has happened, mediation has happened, and the person now wants to take back the case, that may not be possible now, because it's not just about that particular case or an individual involved, but about the entire society. We'll see that as well. Then 10 years of polio eradication. So polio have been eradicated in India. It has been 10 years. So since anything generally important things for which 10 years have happened, it is good that you go through that as well. They anyhow come in news for UPSC after 10 years. Right? In history, remember, the things that have completed 100 years will then become important. So in 2025-26, you will be having the home rule movement turning 100. Right, moving ahead, children lacking minimum dietary diversity. So this is MDD. What is MDD and all, we'll understand that as well. South Korea becomes the super aged society. Which other society before South Korea was super aged? We'll see that, and what is the definition of being super aged, etc. Then global one-stop center. It is brought out by Ministry of External Affairs. We'll see that as well. And then very important, the right to disconnect in India. What is this right to disconnect? We'll see that as well. Moving ahead, no detention policy. Now in national education policy, there was, in fact, in right to education way before, they had brought in basically no detention policy, wherein you cannot detain the students from class 5th to 8th. So if a student is getting very less marks, you cannot detain, as in you cannot fail, you have to pass them on to 6th standard and then to 7th. Why that was done? To reduce the dropout percentage. Now that policy is being taken back. Then you have WFP's Global Outlook for 2025. Then you have Anna Chakra tool, and in detail, we are going to analyze the Oxfam report on widening global economic inequalities. Oxfam comes up with inequality report, right? The amount of inequality present in the society. So we will in detail look at the same. So these are the things that we will be covering. So let's get started with the very first, that is PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. So what is this PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme? As I said, it is it is a way to provide loan, not provide loan as in to help you when you take a loan. How do you do that? Now loans have interest rates that will be high. Here for higher education, the government is going to give interest subvention. This is basically an interest subvention scheme. What is interest subvention scheme? Let's say the rate of loan is 9%. If 3% interest subvention is by the government, so you will have to pay only 6%. That is known as interest subvention. So let's look at the scheme over here. The total outlay is 3,600 crore. You don't have to remember that in detail as such. It is basically going to provide financial assistance to meritorious students securing admission in top colleges. So it is basically financial assistance to meritorious student is what is talking about, benefiting 22 lakh plus students. Now, how do you do that? You do that by this. How do you do that? Students whose annual family income is up to 8 lakh rupees. So this is important. Now this amount is important. This is not that much, but this amount is important. Generally in schemes, the government can, the UPSC can ask the limit, the criteria, etc. becomes important. So if their income is up to 8 lakh, they shall be eligible to get 3% interest subvention on loans up to rupees 10 lakh. For loans up to rupees 10 lakh, let's say if the interest rate is 8%, you will get 3% interest subvention. That means you will be charged only 5% of interest rate. Loans up to 7.5 lakh shall be eligible for 75% credit guarantee, right? Credit guarantee. So what we are saying, credit guarantee over here is collateral free loans, guarantor free loans. For taking a loan, you have to have some collateral, some land, some house, so as to show that you have collateral. These loans are collateral free. This loan is collateral free. If you don't have collateral, you can have a guarantor. Guarantor means, let's say you want to take a loan, I am your guarantor, so I become your guarantor. That means if you're not able to pay, they will catch hold of me. This loan does not even require the guarantor, thus making it easier for people to take loans, and also having reduced interest rate when they are taking loans for education in higher institutions. Higher level education is what is being talked about. If you look at the expenditure, even this year's budget talks about there have been very high amount of expenditure on primary and middle school education, but very less in higher education. So this is going to help over here. Moving ahead, the next is POCSO Act of 2012. So what is it all about? The Supreme Court has recently held that the sexual assault under POCSO Act cannot be quashed on the basis of compromise between the two parties. So if there have been any sort of compromise, compensation is paid, or due to any reason, sometimes those reasons can be forceful as well, right? And sometimes there can be actually a mutual agreement. So whatever the reason may be, even if the parties have come to a compromise, the case that is there, it cannot be quashed. Why it cannot be quashed? Because the Supreme Court says that this is crime against the society, and hence it cannot be compromised. Such cases cannot be treated as private matters anymore. And anyhow, POCSO is related to children. So children are anyhow not able to decide it. So probably their guardians are deciding them. So again, that is another concern. But even if their children turns 18 or becomes an adult also, then also if they are saying we don't want to move ahead with the case, we want to take it back, we have come to an agreement. Whoever decides, whatever the reason, the case cannot be quashed because it is the crime against the society. Right? It is the crime against the society and cannot be treated as a private matter. So now the case will move ahead. I hope that's clear. So this is a Supreme Court judgment that has come. So that becomes the rule of the land. Moving ahead, 10 years of polio eradication in India. So 10 years have happened since we have eradicated polio. So it is important for us to understand a bit about it. So what is polio? Polio is a viral disease. Yes, it's a viral disease. It spreads. Viral diseases are communicable diseases. It can spread from one person to another. So if it is viral, we don't see it so frequent, right? And how have we able to eliminate it? Because there is polio vaccination that is available, right? So remember the vaccine was available, that's why we are able to eliminate it. But still, you should remember that it's a viral disease, highly infectious viral disease. How does the transmission happen? The transmission happens primarily through the fecal oral route, or contaminated food and water can lead to polio, and it paralyzes by invading the nervous system. So you are paralyzed. Your legs, for example, are complete, everything is fine, but since you are paralyzed, you may not be able to walk, you may find it difficulty in walking, you may find difficulty in running, so on and so forth. That is how it can impact you. Now, wild polio virus strain status. The type 1 endemic in Pakistan and Afghanistan as of 2022. The type 2 and type 3 are eradicated in 1999 and 2020 respectively. These facts are quite important for your prelims exam. Now, vaccine-derived polio virus. It occurs. What is vaccine-derived polio virus? See, when you take a vaccination, and that vaccination, not necessarily kills the entire virus. So some virus can adapt as well. So vaccine-derived polio virus occurs when weakened strain in oral polio vaccine mutates and causes paralysis in under-vaccinated population. So the mutation can happen. Some of them can survive and mutate and can survive these doses in someone else's body and can mutate and cause polio over there. So that is vaccine derived polio virus. Next is children lacking minimum dietary diversity. Children lacking the MDD. So what is this MDD? We'll see that as well. So what is the report saying? The report says that 77% of the children in India aged 6 to 23 months lack minimum dietary diversity. Right, 77%. So what is this minimum dietary diversity? Basically, there are diets consisting of 8 different categories. You should have a minimum of, in your dietary plan, you should have a minimum of 5 of these categories. If you are having 5 of these category diets in your diet, then if these food in your diet, then you don't have MDD. Or you can say that you have achieved your MDD. You have achieved your minimum dietary diversity if you have 5 out of the 8 different foods that are mentioned. If you have less than 5, then you have not achieved your minimum dietary diversity. You are lacking MDD. I hope that's clear. So what are these 8 food that we are talking about? Number 1, breast milk, then grains, legumes, dairy products, flesh, foods, eggs, fruits and vegetables. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So fruits and vegetables is what you are talking about. Out of this 8, at least 5 you should have. I hope that's clear. Right? So this is what MDD is all about. Now, what are the initiatives taken by the government to eradicate malnutrition altogether? Let's see that. The very first thing is the Poshan Abhiyan. It promotes nutrition awareness through Jan Andolans targeting pregnant women, lactating mothers and young children. So these are the target audience. Important fact for your prelims. Then you have the Rashtriya Poshan Maha. Maha basically means the month. So it highlights collaboration among ministries to engage communities. So in that month, the collaboration, the celebration, the creation of awareness, etc. takes place. Then you have the ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Service Scheme. It benefits children aged 0 to 6 years, pregnant women and lactating mothers as well. So lactating mothers, the mothers who are breastfeeding their child. Next is South Korea becomes super aged society. So previously, was there any other society which was super aged? Yes, absolutely. Previously, it was Japan that was super aged. So this was the first one. South Korea has also become the next one, which is super aged. Now, what is the definition of super aged? So according to United Nations, country is defined as aging. So you are defined as aging when the share of population that is over 65 years of age reaches 7%. Then you are aging, right? It is defined as aged when the share of 65 years and above reaches 14%. And when this percentage of 65 years and above reaches or exceeds 20%, then the country is said to be super aged. So you have what? You have aging, you have aged, and you have super aged. So if you look at aging, it is 7%, aged 14%, super aged is 20%. Moving ahead, global one-stop centers. So here the government has approved 9 global one-stop centers for Indian women. So it is specifically for women. It has who are in distress. So this is by the Ministry of External Affairs. So women who are in distress, for them one-stop solution is there. 9 have been approved. This is by the External Affairs Ministry. These are one-stop centers, global one-stop centers. That means it is outside the country. So where they are, the seven of them are in Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, that is Jeddah and Riyadh, and 2 are there in Toronto and Singapore. These 7 which are there also consist of shelter homes. These two that are there, which one? This one. The one in Toronto and Singapore, they are without the shelter homes. Now, what are these for? These are to provide comprehensive assistance to women in distress in a foreign country. women who is vulnerable situation, in distress, for them immediate help is required. This comes from a fact that there is a huge amount of human trafficking happening in general and of females in particular. So this is a very nice step, very required step. Hopefully more and more such centers will be opening and more speedier help and assistance can be provided to females, and not just for human trafficking, for various other reasons, various harassment, various issues that women can face. For them also this shelter is there for any and every woman of India in need. I hope that's clear. Let's move ahead with the right to disconnect. Now, what is right to disconnect? See, you might be working in a company. So when you work in a company, you have defined office hours, defined work hours. But many a times you are given tasks beyond the work hours. They say, okay, you don't go home till you finish this. Your day doesn't end till you finish this, right? Or even after work hours you are called, or even on holidays you are called. Holidays you are asked to work. Holidays you are asked to do meetings and stuff. All these things can happen, is happening in fact. So now India is mulling about having a right to disconnect. What does that mean? That I have the right to switch off my phone. I have the right to not take calls. I have the right to not work, to say no to work beyond my working hours, be it on the working day, after the working hours, or on a holiday, or the day that I am on leave. So in that case, I have the right to say no without me being threatened or fired or discredited or lowered my performance, this, that, anything. Without any such repercussions, I should have the right to disconnect, is what is the right to disconnect over here. So this is what the right to disconnect is. Now it is coming in the backdrop of the death of a young female employee due to work stress, right? So a young female employee had committed suicide because it is alleged that it was due to the work related stress, right? So it is coming in the backdrop of that we should have the right to disconnect. So what is the right to disconnect? Employees are not obliged to reply to call made by employers after work hours, and such employees shall not be subject to any disciplinary action. You cannot take any disciplinary action in that regard. That is your right to disconnect, which is legally not present in India as such. So that is what is being thought of. If you look at the examples of other countries, in France, Labor Chamber of French Supreme Court ruled in 2001 that an employee is under no obligation from work, no obligation to work from home or take home files and working tools to work on them. In Portugal, it has a right to disconnect. Spain, public workers and employees have the right to switch off devices. Australia, Parliament gave employees the right to disconnect from work outside of working hours, right? So this is your status of different countries. Then you have the no detention policy. So the no detention policy, what is no detention policy? Even if the student is failing, you don't fail them, you don't detain them in the same class, you pass them on to the next class. That is the detention policy. So what has happened now? Ministry of Education scraps the no detention policy for class 5th and 8th. This was present for class 5th and 8th. Of course, in 10th they will be detained, but for 5th to 8th it was also there that they will be detained, but now it is not there. In 10th standard you could not detain, there are board exams, so you have to pass it, but from 5th to 8th there was a no detention policy that you could have detained, but you will not detain them. I repeat, from 5th to 8th there was no detention policy. Whereas if 10th is concerned, in 10th of course they will be detained. There's a board exam, if you fail you will not be passing the 10th, right? But as per no detention policy, even after getting low marks you can still pass because there was no detention policy in place. Now this no detention policy has been removed, right? This policy was a part of right to education. Why was this brought? This was brought in because since students would be detained, it will take them more number of years to reach 10th standard, right? So more amount of expenditure. Again, uniform might be required, new books, the same books can also work, but still it will take you more time to start earning money. All those issues are there. It is sort of a delay that is happening, as a result of which you may see that there will be a lot of dropouts that may happen, right? In your motivation and all may go down, so there would be a lot of dropout. So it was thought that if we have no detention policy, it is going to help increase the let's say turnout of the students. That means lower the dropout rates. However, what has happened is, because of this, the quality of education has gone down. The focus, the motivations to study well has gone down, because people know that they will be not detained, as a result of which presently now the Ministry of Education has scrapped this policy. Moving ahead, WFP, World Food Programme's Global Outlook for 2025. So World Food Programme has released the Global Outlook for 2025. What does it do? It provides update on global food security, highlights solutions WFP can offer to respond to crisis and tackle root causes of hunger. So the outlook is about hunger, about food. So what is WFP, World Food Programme? It's the largest humanitarian agency saving lives. Of course, it established in 1961 by United Nations General Assembly, that is UNGA, and Food and Agriculture Organization, which is also a part of United Nations. It is also a United Nations part. It consists of over 120 countries. Voluntary donation from governments, corporates and private donors is what helps it keep running. It was important. It was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2020. Moving ahead, the Anna Chakra tool. The Anna Chakra tool. This is Anna Chakra tool. Anna means anaj, which means food grains. Which means food grains. So the Union Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution has launched the Anna Chakra PDS supply chain optimization tool. That is one thing. And second is the scan portal to modernize the PDS system. PDS system is the public distribution system through which, FCI is included in that. Food Corporation of India procures the food grains from the farmers at MSP and then sends it to the ration shop, through which the ration card holders can get the food grains at cheap cost under the National Food Security Act. Under National Food Security Act, total 66% of Indians are provided with cheap food grains. So basically 50% from urban area and 75% from rural areas, right? So approximately comes out to be 66% through the PDS. Now they have come up with innovation or expedition or increasing the efficiency of PDS. So they have launched the Anna Chakra tool as well as the scan portal. So let us see what they are. The Anna Chakra tool, what is it? It is basically a public distribution supply chain optimization tool. What does it do? Leverages advanced algorithms to identify optimal routes to ensure movement of food grains. Means basically this system is going to see where how much requirement is there, how the movement can happen. See, you have to distribute it throughout India. And at different ration shop, different amount is present, different inventory is present, and may get over in different number of days. If it gets over and there is no supply, there will be a delay. Now, poor people may not be able to afford it, especially the daily wage laborers, poor people, below poverty line people, Antyodaya people. They may have to buy it from outside if there is a delay. After the month, if you give me what it is of what use, right? You can't give me after 1 month double. Because how do I survive now? So that is why these delays should not happen. So this is going to increase the efficiency of the system. The agencies that are involved over here are Department of Food Public Distribution, which has developed it in collaboration with World Food Programme, WFP and IIT Delhi. So these two have combined together with Department of Food Public Distribution and created it. Now it is integrated with PM Gati Shakti platform. PM Gati Shakti platform keeps an eye on the different projects that are going on in India. So it has been integrated with that and the Freight Operations Information System portal of the railways, right? So it has been linked with these two things. Now next is the SCAN, which is the subsidy claim application for NFSA, that is National Food Security Act. So it's a portal for subsidy claim application for NFSA. It aims to provide single window submission of subsidy claims by the states, right? So subsidy needs to be claimed. The government is providing subsidy which needs to be claimed by the state. So it's a single portal where you can do all this, wherein end-to-end workflow automation will be present. All right. Now, let's move ahead to the last news, very important, about the Oxfam report on widening global economic inequalities. So what is the name of this report? They have released report titled Takers Not Makers. So people who are taking home the chunk of the money are not the creators of the money. In fact, it also delves into the history and talks about the impact of colonization. So what is the title? Complete title: Takers Not Makers, the unjust poverty and unearned wealth of the colonial inheritance. So that is unjust and unearned, that is by cruelty, by colonizing, and now they are reaping the benefits still. So this is unjust as well as unearned. So this is the report that has been released by Oxfam. Let us look at this report in detail. They have, here some of this later on you can utilize in your essays, the way they have mentioned it. You can mention the fact in essays, let's say for example 20% people are hungry, but saying that 1 in every 5 persons sleeps hungry, that has a more impact. So this is how you write in essay. So these kind of facts, the way they have written, can be written in essay as well, but here our focus is on prelims, so we will look at the facts with respect to the prelim examination. So what is this? From 1 trillionaire last year, Oxfam has now forecasted that there will be around 5 trillionaire within a decade. In the next 10 years, there will be 5 trillionaire people who are holding $1 trillion or more. As far as as far as other data is concerned, 3.6 billion people still are below the poverty line, which is suggested by World Bank, that is of $6.85 dollars. Right now, 3.6 billion, it is over 45%. It is about 45 to 50% of people are still living below this poverty line. Now, of course, this is India does not have an official defined poverty line, but this poverty line can be considered to be way higher than the poverty line given by any committee in India ever. Even if you take into account inflation and increase the poverty line in India, which was suggested by Rangarajan committee or Suresh Tendulkar committee, this is still very high over here. That is why the percentage is high, but high as compared to the different committees' recommendation, not high in general. So if you take this to be $7 and you multiply it by 86, 7 8s are 56. So this is around 600 rupees. So 600 rupees a day, which comes to be around 18,000 rupees, is not that much in this costly world. I hope that's clear. Right? Moving ahead, about the report itself, 60% of billionaire wealth is either inherited or gained from cronyism, corruption, monopoly power. So we think that these are businesses, they are reaping the benefits which they have created. No, it's not like that. There is corruption, there is power involved, there is force involved, there is cronyism. Cronyism means their friends sitting at a higher post, higher level, taking decisions in the government in favor of them so that they can earn money. For example, these businesses will donate money to the political party. The political party comes in power, give contracts to these businesses only, and then these businesses start becoming more and more rich. Rich keeps on getting richer. So 60% of the wealth is either inherited, gained through crony capitalism, corruption, or monopoly. So 35% inherited, about 26% due to all these activities. Moving ahead, billionaire wealth has risen. So if you look at the rise of the wealth, here it's 2022-23, this is 23-24. So this is just a 1 year gap. In 1 year, the rise is 3 times. So the rich is becoming richer at a very high pace. The poor is getting poorer, and if some are getting out of poverty line, they are not suddenly earning thrice the money. But here that is happening. Moving ahead, if you look at it, between 1765 to 1900, the colonialism, right? Between that, $33.8 trillion was drained from India to the richest 10% in the UK. Now, this amount is enough to carpet London in $50 note almost 4 times. If you make in that $50 note as $10 note, so you can carpeted many more times as well, right? So this is the let's say the atrocity or the unjust nature of the wealth we are talking about. In 2023, the global south paid $30 million an hour to the richest 1% in the global north. The global south paid this money to the global north, and the global north consists of very less amount of population but has highest amount or majority of the money with them. We will see that graph as well. Now moving ahead, the share of the population living under World Bank's poverty line is 44%. Now this is very similar to the amount of wealth 1% richest people hold in the world. The richest 1% people in the world hold about 45% of the global wealth, right? Moving ahead. Now this is what I was talking about, the share of the world's population. So this is global north, this is global rest of the world, right, including the global south, of course. So this is global north, talking about the north of the world, and the developed, the western countries we are talking about. Share of the world 77%. 77% is the share. Share of the world's billionaires 68% share of the billionaires. Share of total global wealth 69.3% of global wealth, and share of the population just 20.6%. So basically 25.6% means 1/5 of the people, 1/5 of the people of the world are basically owning what? 70% of the wealth. And this 1/5 all are coming from the global north of the world. So that is why there is a high inequality. And not just that, more important reason for this, see, if this would have been achieved, by hard work, by smartness, by this, that, and in a just way, then fine. But this is due to inheritance, this is due to colonialism, this is due to crony capitalism, corruption, use of power, etc., which makes it even worse. Right. So this was about the current affairs of social issues for the month of November, December, January. Stay tuned for the next set of months of current affairs for social issues, which will be very important for your upcoming prelims examination. Thank you so much.